ASEAN Para Games 2025, staged here in Korat, Thailand, where the fans have been treated to some spectacular action, not least by the Singaporean contingent. Gold medalists in the individual events, now looking to become gold medalists in the mixed pairs as we come to the end of round-robin group stage action in the Pool A competition in our BC3 category. A final round of matches, having played twice on Saturday. Let's listen to the introductions of the teams.
On court 1, red team, player Aloy Uskan Kai Hong and Shersokui. Nurul Seriki Bento Muhammad Taha and Nur Asis Benti Ahmad Sami. Singapore, blue team, Ladamani Klahan, Lamb-Operator, Chantapapha Phula and Witun Chantakat, Lamb-Operator, Seksan Charan Suk. Thailand, referee Audi Ismet Densi Sholigan, Malaysia.
And if you've been watching this competition, you will realize that it's wonderful hearing the names of the ramp assistants introduced as well, because they play a huge role in the success or otherwise of these teams. And it's mixed pairs action. Our focus is going to be on individual gold medalists, Nurul Asika and Aloysius Gunn, both of whom won their individual BC3 titles. And now, after a perfect Saturday, a 100% record, they are coming up against the Thai pair of Ladmani Klahan and Witun Chantaka, with an opportunity, if they can win this one, to guarantee themselves top spot in the group and more gold medal success for Team Singapore. That's Aloysius Gan Kai Hong. You just heard him introduced. Chur Sok Hui is the ramp assistant working with him. And then his partner, we'll see in action once again, the hugely experienced, highly successful para-athlete who is Nurul Asika. Nurul, we'll call her going forward here. She's got ramp assistance from her ever-present for many years now. The very, very talented Nur Aziza working with her. Just in terms of the results, yesterday we saw a really entertaining and very tight matchup between arguably the top two pairs in this group. The Singaporeans taking on the Indonesians, Fendi Kurnia Pamungkas and Dewi Suci Kirana, and eventually coming through 4-1 after the four ends that they played. Then later on in the day, they took on the Malaysians, Lim Yin Xiang and Thiagarajan, and won 7-3 to give themselves that 100% record. Well, the reason they're in such a strong position, those victories and, of course, the results of their opponents. The pair they're playing right now, Ladmani and Witun, well, they beat the Malaysians, Yin and Thiagarajan, but they lost narrowly 3-2 in their final match, the final match of the session, to Fendi and Suci Kirana. So that's why the Singaporeans are in such a strong position. So just to remind you, in case you're new to this format, in terms of this sport as well, Boccia, it's a situation where you're going to find a toss of the coin determining who rolls out the white ball, or the jack, which is the target ball to start with. That team will then follow up with the red, and then the blue will be their opposition. They have 6 balls, they have 7 minutes in which to bowl the Boccia balls, and of course that requires a lot of tactical thinking, planning, lining up, and then of course the execution in terms of adjusting the height and the angle as well as the direction of the ramp. Time becomes a factor. Time can tick away once an end, as they call each of the individual games, as it were, becomes complicated. Now, they will play 4 ends in this format. 6 balls. They are just about to get going. Hugely important role for the referees in these matchups here. The Malaysian referee in this one, that's Aldiz Mesdensi Sholikan, assisted by Chanarong Sukyang, who will be the line person. Singapore in red, Thailand in blue, characteristically, and you can see they're just getting themselves ready now to start proceedings off. Again, to the rules, remember the points are scored when you come to the end of an end, to the finish, to the conclusion, put all the balls bowled, or otherwise, if a team decides it doesn't need to, the points will be scored by the number of balls they may have closest to the jack. So Ladamani and Witun, experienced campaigners. Ladamani at 25, one of the youngest in their team, but still highly experienced. Al-Rashid, who's a gold medalist, of course, is one of the younger athletes here, still not 20 years old. 2 times a silver medalist in ASEAN Para Games before coming to this gold success here. Far more experienced campaigner up against him in terms of the man on the Thai side of equations here. The Witun Chantakat story is one of much more experience, a regular in ASEAN Para Games outings. And there is confirmation. It's Aldiz Mesdensi Sholikan from Malaysia is our referee for this one. You'll see that referee obviously making the all-important calls on whether or not the delivery of the ball is legal and appropriate in terms of the way it's come down the ramp. Plus, of course, the most important call being which of the balls is closest to the jack. Very often you'll see the measuring calipers coming out to determine the distances between 2 competing balls. And then the announcement of the score made, you'll see, via hand gestures in terms of holding up a number of fingers to show the score against a bat, a table tennis style bat that they hold. So we are just about ready to go. You can see the Singaporean assistants are in action at the start, in position, facing the athlete, preparing to take on board the instructions, help adjust the ramp, both in terms of direction and height. And as you'll see, of course, the higher the ramp, the higher the ball is placed, the faster it rolls, and that's very often used for those destructive smashing attempts, looking to remove a ball that is seen as an obstruction in terms of a pathway towards the jack. Then, of course, you'll see the far more subtle plays, and you'll be highly impressed, I'm sure, by the quality of the touch that they have. Here we go. Final prayers offered by the Thais. A must-win for them to get themselves into contention. And for Singapore, well, win it, and it's more gold success. There is the truly remarkable athlete who is Nurul. Twice the age of her teammate here. She's been playing since 2004, picking up medals on a regional basis since 2009. And as that jack goes out relatively short, That's pretty much what we saw throughout their matches yesterday. Keeping things very tight, keeping the distances within control. And you'll also notice that the way that the players are staggered here, it opens up angles in mixed pairs play. There you go. She was always looking to try and take that to the left side of the jack as we look at it, because you can see the Thai players are on that side of her, which means that it plays a screening role, even in these early exchanges in this end, the first of the 4 ends that they'll play. You'll also notice the shot clock ticking now in the time it took for her to get the ball out there. It took Singapore down to 6-16. Thailand have started, of course, at 7 as well. And now we see an angle taken here as the clock continues to tick. Ladamani it is who is looking now to reply. And it looks as if it's going to be an interesting play here, because she's going for the tall ramp and a very high placement. And with that very high placement, there's going to have to be an adjustment to enable her to be able to just nudge the ball. There you are. You can see an extension on the stick that's on her head. And here it comes. There's the play. Now, the play was to open things up, and she's done that. But it does mean she sacrificed one of those blue balls, crossing the line and out and removed. So it looks very much as if the Thais have decided they don't want to let the Singapore pair control proceedings here. They want to disrupt as much as possible. Now, remember, the pair that doesn't have a ball closest to the jack is the pair that will continue to play until they achieve that position. So you can see now from the very wide angle, it is Witun who is lining up his play here, and most obviously looking to put a blue ball between the jack and that red that was served up by Nurul, with a far slower play coming in here. This will be about the weight and the pace. Already taking quite a lot of time over these first 2 balls, the Thais. So finally, Witun happy with what he's got. Oh, and it was a little heavy there. Just came down with a bit too much pace, maybe, bouncing off and leaving an opening here. Are we going to see Aloysian action for the first time? It looks like it might be better placed here from Nurul's perspective. Just gave that a bit too much. He wanted that to stop and cover the jack, and instead just glanced off it, leaving it open once again. You can see the reaction from Witun there, not his best. So there's a straight line play for Nurul here. Aloysius offering his input as well, but the obvious play here is to just slide a ball there in, maybe even knock that blue ball out of contention. There's the communication between assistant and player. And it's fascinating to see whether he's just going to ease one in. No, there's a lot of pace on this. Oh, yeah, nicely done. So that one's kissing the jack now. And it's also served a very, very handy purpose in terms of blocking Witun. That furthermost red ball you can see at the top of your screen is also going to be a problem for Ladamani. The reaction, he's happy with that. So it's a strong start by the Singaporean pair. They're in a very good position. Immediately putting the Thais into a little bit of trouble. So that policy early on of playing the hard, fast, disruptive ball might have backfired on the Thais, because it's opened up the door for Singapore to construct a foundation once again. And they're going to have to go into disruption mode once more. Look how high this is placed. They know now they need to really re-establish this, completely reset the court. And here it comes from Witun. This is the big one in more ways than one. And he did make contact, but he hasn't been able to achieve anything more in terms of getting the Thais closer to that jack. The idea had been to try and really send that red ball far away from the jack, but he hasn't done that. And now with 3:10 or so on the clock and 3 of their balls used, they're beginning to face a little bit of pressure in terms of time. But that's a great angle, great camera angle there, as Ladamani has a clear path there, through there, should she decide to use it to get into position. Down comes the ramp. That's the angle. And if she can just hit this between the jack and the Singaporean red ball, she might actually be able to get the jack closer to the other blue. Let's see whether she's going for a little bit more pace or whether this is simply a question of just sliding that one in between the two. Okay, she nudges the ball. Here it comes. That was the play, beautifully done, and that is touching. The Thai fans absolutely delighted with that. And as we get now towards the business end of this end, it's the Thais who need to be dislodged. Makes life very difficult that for Aloysius, who's got a lot of obstruction there, and it looks now very much as if it's going to have to be Nurul looking to get in here and play a little bit of a disruptive play. Now there is Aloysius actually looking to try and come in from the side. Just being told to make sure he stays inside the white box. Singapore have got plenty of time here. They've only used 2 of their balls, but here he goes. Mid-height. Working hard here is Che Sok-Hui, trying to get everything in position because he's ready to go, is Aloysius. And he's now ready to get this ball on its way. They've had to rush this one a little bit. But, oh, he's done well to knock it, and they almost sat up on top of the jack. But it isn't there, and it's still advantage with the Thais. So now it's a bit of a hurry up for the Singapore mixed pair. That could easily have sat down. So just listening to the assistants calling out the time, 3:30 less now, and they've used 1 fewer ball than the Thais. It's still Aloysius Gan's angle, really, to operate from. That's where you feel this end is going to be won and lost. Down it comes, looking for the height. Decision taken on where we're going to be. Look at that. There are numbers marked all the way up and down that ramp. And it requires incredibly good communication and understanding between assistant and player to be able to make those calls so quickly. There's an obvious opening in here to just get in to remove that closest blue ball and sit up against the jack. Here it comes. Ricocheted off one, but it's not able to get in between the Thai ball and the jack. So now for Team Singapore, the big decision is, do they look to come in and try and be a little bit more aggressive? 2:14 on the clock. Nurul moving into position. There's the instructions to Nur Aziza. Looks as if she might have to clear out a little bit here. Look to try and take that blue ball away. But she's not going for too much power. That's mid-height. Looking to just push a little bit here. Let's have a little look at her line, because this could turn into quite a high-scoring end for Singapore if she gets this right. They've got a lot of red balls around there. She's pushed it on to the jack. That is brilliantly done. The smart play might end up giving them a one-pointer come the end of this one. But that was really smart thinking from a very, very astute athlete. So now all the pressure piles back onto the Thais. Under 2 minutes. They have 2 balls to play. They're discussing tactics. Ladamani has got a lot of traffic to try and get through if she is to try and make something happen here. Could come up with quite a creative play. But they don't have a lot of blue beyond the jack. So should that jack skip forward, it's the Singaporeans with the advantageous position. It's going to have to be pace and power, and it's going to have to be a little bit of hit and hope. Down to less than 1 minute now, with 2 balls in hand, and they're going to have to get on with this one now. So here it comes. Biggest play of this end, trying to clear out, takes one off the edge. And now it'll be interesting to know what they do. Her play was to remove one, and if they've got enough time for Witun to be able to come in from the side, maybe there's an opportunity here for the Thais to move the jack. That was the tactic you feel that was discussed from the start. It's a very wide angle. And look at the clock. Are they going to get this done? Very unlikely. Oh, he's moved it in a hurry. Unable to achieve anything, no. From that angle, the best he could hope to do was to try and just nudge a ball up there. And for Team Singapore with 1:22 on the clock, this is a comfortable position. There's no great need to really do anything too dramatic here. Remember, it's just the first of 4 ends, this one. And the luxury of time, still a minute remaining on the shot clock for Nurul. And given her quality and given the intelligence she brings to touch play, let's just see what the idea might be there. So Nur Aziza has done what she needed to do. Now they're going to move into a position where Nurul just gets this final ball of this opening end away. She does. It's a little push to reinforce the proximity of that red ball to the jack. And here comes the score. Well, she's going to have a check first. See for herself. So that was 1 red is the score, and that will do Singapore very nicely indeed. They were always in a good position in that from the moment the Thais decided very early on to open up the play once again. And that was just an insurance shot really there from Nurul to make sure that they get off to a solid start. And what they've been so good at in this competition, because they are so accomplished, is getting in front and staying in front. They're very, very good at playing defensive. Yes, we saw a couple of big scores yesterday. We saw a couple of 13-0s, which is remarkable really across 4 ends involving some of the other teams. Singaporeans have tended to be involved in lower scoring matches whereby they've taken control and not allowed their opponents a chance to score. So this highly impressive Singapore pair getting underway once again now. Our second end here sees the Thais getting the jack out there, trailing but just the 1 point so far, but knowing that they're going to have to really be at their very, very best. It's a relatively short jack, this one. And now La Dama need to follow up with the first ball. See the height set characteristically low for the first, which would be a touch play, looking to just nestle up against the jack, which it does. Nicely played, and that's all you can hope for at the start. So it's over in the side of play that is going to favour Aloysius to start off with. He has a close look, but from the wide angle, this is what we saw in the first end. The second ball looking to cause a little bit of disruption. Oh, and there it is. So tried to move the blue, a little bit frustrated at the result as the red one just hops over the top. Nurul's such an incredible student, not just of sport, but of languages. She knows 6 different languages, among them Korean and Japanese. She said she started learning languages, motivated, so she could communicate with other athletes, break the ice, build a rapport with them. Remember, she's been playing this sport since 2004. Extremely intelligent. She actually initiated a joint training camp in the Republic of Korea for athletes, in which she brought together athletes from Korea and Singapore. A Paralympian. She's been building a career at the same time she's been building academic pedigree as well, not just in terms of languages, but also studies. As we see a lovely little ball rolled in there. Aloysius Gan showing his delicate touch when needed as well, because Nurul had opened up the gap and he said thank you very much. Just back to Nurul, just looking through her academic pedigree, she actually got a master's degree in analytics. which she says has helped her explore her sport from a different angle, diversifying her skill sets. And you can see what she brings to every single match. A gold medalist in the individual, as was Aloysius, who's just showed us the kind of form he's in right now as well. So once again, the Singaporeans making a smart play, a good 1-2, good teamwork. Nurul cleared out. We're talking about clearing out, that was the intention from Witun. But it hasn't exactly worked in Thailand's favour. Aloysius made a great play there in putting the pressure on once again. He was the flag bearer at the Youth Asian Games in 2021 in Bahrain. It was a major games debut for him, picking up gold in the individuals and the silver in the mixed pairs. And then away from the sport, Aloysius enjoys video editing and music. We'll be looking to put together a highlights reel from this trip to Nakhon Ratchasima in Korat, Thailand, because it has been a fantastic outing for Team Singapore in Boccia. That's nicely done. That's what they needed, and that's what the fans have been crying out for Thailand. Witun then just able to push a ball onto the jack. And what's working in Thailand's favour now is that there's a lot of traffic elsewhere around that jack. So Nurul's got two balls really blocking her angle. Aloysius has got an opportunity, but it's fairly straight on to just try and come down on the right side as we look at it now of that blue ball that's closest to the jack. Opportunity to shift that. But it is up against the jack, which makes things very, very difficult. So it might be that the play here is to come in, as we can see, from a wide angle and disrupt, as Nurul is looking to do. With pace as well. It's the long stick for her, and here comes her ball. Nuraziza at full stretch. Up at the top of the ramp. Here it comes. This is a big play. And it's a good play to an extent, because the advantage is still with the Thais, but the jack has been freed up. But because of the movement on that white ball now, it's opened up a line potentially for Aloysius, who's having a very, very close look. There's the communication with Sopui, who is just ensuring that she knows what he wants out of this one. There you go, the ball. She just makes sure it's absolutely true and round. As you'll see, there you go. The assistants will make sure that these leather balls are just fully round so that they're going to run as they intend to. Here it comes. He sees an opportunity here, Aloysius. Can he take it? Oh, you betcha. That is fantastic from a player who is in such good form. And again, the Singaporeans acting as a team. Nurul clears out, Aloysius follows up and puts that beautiful weight that he has onto the ball. Super positioning. Now we start looking at the clock and the ball's remaining. So 3 more for the Thais, and they've got 3.5 minutes to come up with a response. There's the communication between the two, and La Damani wants Witun to have a quick look clarify something for her. This is going to eat up a bit of time as he makes his way back now into the box to communicate with his teammate. She's still looking across and trying to figure out what the play is here. Because right now, it's 1 ball to the good for the Singapore pair. And all the pressure on the Thais again as they find themselves now. Probably wouldn't be too distressed to go 2 down should it be 2 down after 2 ends, but the way the Singaporeans are playing, they're just not giving this Thai pair any kind of an opening. So mid-height on the ramp, maybe a little bit more. Where does she see the opportunity? We'll find out now. It's not immediately obvious. Went for that ricochet, went to cannon one on there, wasn't able to get it in the gap, and you can see she's frustrated because it's actually not done Witton any favors whatsoever. Looking to get that one actually to move the red ball out the way and sit next to the jack. She hasn't managed to do that. And there's a lot of obstruction now for Witton Chantakat should he try and get in there. Instead, it's going to have to be La Damene again, coming in from that angle. 1 minute and just over by the time this ball rolls on the clock. Here it comes. Oh, and that's the play she wanted. That is a superb play. Took the red ball away. It leaves the Thais with 2 closest to the jack. That worked so well. Look at the way they got that red ball far away from the jack. So 2 in a row there for La Damene, doing very nicely. Now the pressure's on the Singaporeans. They've just got the 2 balls remaining. They've got 2 minutes 20 or so. But there is a clear line of sight there of the jack for Nurul, and a clear opportunity to maybe just advance that towards the red ball you see at the bottom of the screen there. So this is getting dramatic towards the end of this end, because there's going to be a swing or 2, you feel. Possibly even a 2-ball swing potentially. Aloysius is having a close look at this one, because the opportunity from his angle is to move that to white ball the jack as well. Who takes on the play? Either could do it. And it looks like it's going to be Nurul. And it looks like she's going to go there and look to substantially move that jack. From a position in which the Thais could look to have a 2-point result in this end, it might go the other way now. Here it comes. And yeah, that's the play, and that's such a smart play. Look at those 2 red balls now.
1 minute.
This is all kinds of pressure for the team in blue now, because look how far the jack is away from where they are. Look at the obstacles in between. Apart from maybe hopping over the top of a ball, very hard to see quite what the angle is. Although Witton does have the opportunity to just carom one off a blue ball and take it to the right and run it up to the jack. Maybe take it off the opposition red ball. You can see the 2 balls to the top right. The idea might be to just bounce off the side of that red ball and just come in between Singapore's second ball in the white. Here it comes. Instead, he's pushed it up to the jack. That's a beautiful play. Oh man, what a pressure play that is. One ball advantage, and now it's back to you, over to you, Singapore. He managed to go straight. The angle was lovely. Thought that might have been blocked by the red ball in front of him, but he just slid by. And this is now a huge play for the Singaporeans. Thais have done all they can do with their 6 balls. They got through with 6 seconds remaining. And now they watch on, as you can see, Ladamani looking at the angle that Aloysius is coming up with here. Nothing Nurul can do about this. 30 seconds now on the clock. He has got a line. Can he get through, shift that blue ball and leave his red ball nestling up against the jack? That's the play. It comes down to this in this second end. Here it comes. Oh, he's knocked it really hard. The referee's going to step in and have a little look now. Looks as if that blue ball might be the closer. Nurul's once again deciding to get in there and have a look, confirm for herself. And she's seen all she needs to see. Just on the evidence of the naked eye there, the blue ball closest. 1 blue is the call, and that is the end. And that is Thailand leveling things up. So this is such a tight encounter. Low scoring, highly tactical, and going right down to the final ball yet again. Oh, it just bounced up and away and came very, very close there to having the desired effect. So 1-1 after 2 ends, and this is high quality stuff. So coaching for the Thai pair now ahead of the 3rd end. More as a study and focus and determination. They know what they're about, this Singapore pair. They know how to win these matches. But they also know that their opponents have produced a great comeback there. That is a very, very short jack, just inside the playing area. Now it's just about the delicacy of the touch here from Aloysius. The opening play, more often than not, just a cozy one up, just nestle a ball up there against the jack and see whether or not the Thais look to disrupt again. That's it, the measured play. But these are just the opening salvos now, the early exchanges in this end, as the shot clock starts to tick for the team in blue. Yep, it's disruption again, and the Thais aren't prepared to allow the Singapore pair to just build and dominate as they've done throughout this event in Thailand. They're saying, okay, let's just clear it out, and they do just that. So one of the blue balls crosses the line. That's cleared away now, out of play. And it's back to the Thais in the shape of Ladamani to come up with a play now. That red ball of the Singaporeans won't really be a factor. It's not going to block anything that Nurul tries to do. And this end really is only just getting started. There's a lot left in this now. But because of the start, they're eating up a lot of time already. Nicely played. Entirely what you'd expect from Ladamani there. And now it's an interesting decision again for Team SG. Do they go tight, or do they look to shift that blue ball now? Do they go tight on either side of the jack, or play something a little bit more disruptive? Here comes the height, here comes the play, which is going to be fast and furious, as Aloysius looks to try and get that jack out on its own once more. And he's gone mid-height on the ramp. Sokhui just getting it in position, and here it comes. Here's the push. Well, it was nicely done in terms of moving it, but it still means that it's going to be the Singaporeans who take the next ball. Two down onto their third now. That could have ended up with the ball sitting down a lot more comfortably. Instead, it's just left it open once more. Now, what has Nurul got in mind? She always thinks one or two balls ahead, and the idea now is going to be rebuild, with both pairs having played two. There you go. Over to you, Thailand, she says. As is so often the case, this is going to be settled by the fifth or maybe the sixth ball. She sets high standards, so maybe she'll feel that that's a little bit to the left as she looks at it. All the other players, including both the Thai players, are to her right, so that does open up a little look at the jack there. And Ladamani is going high here. She's a fun player to watch. More often than not, she likes to go for the power play. Just extending out that stick now for the push. Here it comes. But striking that red ball on the left as she did does mean now that it keeps the Singaporeans in the position of advantage, but it does completely open the field of play for teammate Witun Chantakat. He can do what he wants here now. Just there having a quick look at the angles before deciding what the play is. So So those are the instructions. Heard Ladmani speaking there to Chantapapa Pola, who's working with her as the ramp assistant, and also conveying the messaging across now to Witton. He in turn is working with Saksan Jelanso. And really, they've got the luxury, with both pairs having played 3 balls here, of almost starting afresh. Chance to put this one between the jack and the red ball. And there it is. But it does allow Aloysius a very clear look at that jack. So almost a chess match here out on this Boccia court. As you can see, these pairs just thinking ahead. And at the moment, they're in a similar situation in terms of what's on the clock and number of balls played. They've played fairly quickly in this end, so we're not going to have a time problem, one would imagine. Yeah, that's the instruction here. Very soft. That's the idea. You can hear. Ooh. That's left the blue ball closest. The referee just reaches for the calipers just to determine the distances here. Let's see if we can get a better angle. There we are. So referee Aldi Ismes there, just getting those calipers out now. Having established that distance, he'll apply it between the white and the red. And it is confirmation then that it's the Singaporeans who must continue until they can get a ball closer to the jack. They have 2 remaining balls and 2 minutes 30 in which to use them. Nurul has got an opening, she's got an opportunity, and she's got a lot of options with what she can do here. It's going to be a delicate play, and it's going to be a play for position. There it is. Oh, just glancing off the jack and putting a ball slightly closer. Witton, quite right, he's coming to have a look at this now. So Singapore with a slight advantage. This is tense. This has throughout the match been tense. Nothing in it. Singapore taking the first 1-0. The Thais taking the second 1-0 to level this match up at 1 apiece. And now it feels like it's going to be a very, very close one in this third end, third of 4 ends. Ladmani with the constant chatter. Tactically, she's got the opportunities now because that's a clear line of sight she has. Here comes the ball. Yeah, nicely done. It might now require something a bit more expansive by way of reply with their final ball from the Singapore pair. They need to come up with something or they will go behind in this match with 1 end to go. Beautifully played. Yep, that was the plan. Now, they have the luxury of having 1 ball in hand once they know what the Singapore play has been. What is the strategy? It's on Nurul Astika here to come up with something. Communication, so important with a teammate here. And now she moves into position. Inside the minute, 40 or so seconds by the time she plays this one. What is the play? And the key to this is, what do they leave as an opportunity for the ties? Here it is. 30 seconds on the clock. Oh, she's pushed the red ball up against the jack. It's all she could really hope to do. She's executed it perfectly, but now it's up to the ties. The fate of this end is in their hands. Where does this come from? Does it come from a central position or does it come from out wide? Whitton having a very close look out wide now. But he's got a lot of traffic to get through. And the idea might be to just move a blue ball with the jack. Because he's going high and he's going a fast one, and he's going to have to really hope for something here, because this is where it becomes a little unpredictable in terms of how these balls react after that contact. Inside a minute now on the shot clock. Out comes the long stick. And this is a big play, not just in this end, but the match. He's hopped it over the top, but it hasn't helped the team cause, because that might just favor Singapore. Nurul coming to have a quick look at this one. To be honest, I didn't fully hear the call. Was it 1 red? Looks most likely that it's red. We need confirmation. 1 red. And that's the end of the third. Another tense, tight, absorbing end. 1 minute now as they reset. So the problem really there for the ties was that that ball skipped over rather than transferring the energy through the ball and sending that blue ball in pursuit of the jack. That played into the Singapore hands, and Singapore now back in front, having won another 1-pointer. 1-0, meaning it's a 2-1 game now. Boy, oh boy, this is close. Our Singapore delegation looking on, knowing that they are on the brink here. Remember, they're chasing gold again, these Singaporeans, chasing a perfect record in this round-robin play. A perfect 3 wins out of 3 is what they're after. So there it is. In the fourth and final end, the jack has been presented. And Thailand, who must win this end, will be preparing to serve up their first ball through Witun Chantaka. It's been a great outing this for the Singaporeans in this sport. And as we see the opening plate by the Thais, good to hear and see so much support for the Singaporeans. Dr. Teo Kop, sorry, I should say Teo Ko Sok Myang is there, of course. Such an active supporter in the disability sports community for decades, president of the Singapore National Paralympic Council. Watching on with the supporters of a Singapore team which is really excelling in Boccia. So we're in these early exchanges once again. But remember, with the advantage of a lead, the Singaporeans can play spoilers, as it were. They can just consistently stop the Thais getting the points or points they need. Oh, beautifully done. That is really a snapshot of the quality that Nurul brings to this sport. Look at the action on the ball once it strikes the blue ball here. Up, over, and just dropping down between blue and white. And it won't be the defining ball in this end, you can be sure of that, but it's just a reminder of the quality she has. So it's been the story of this match. The Thais under pressure, because it just seems that no matter what they try, this highly accomplished Singapore pair comes up with an answer. This match is by no means settled. It's only a one-point match right now, and that's a smart play from Witun, who gives Thailand the advantage once again. Served a double purpose then in getting two blue balls closest. As Aloysius takes a look at an angle, which we'll see if we can get a reverse camera angle on this. See what he's got to look at. But Witun did a good job there of actually covering up any options, any angles that Aloysius might have, which means that it's going to have to be Nurul coming in from that wide position. And if she's coming in at pace, it's going to be fascinating to see just where this jack ends up now. Oh, it stays exactly where it was, because that has just glanced up and off and over the top of the ball. Very, very hard to see if there's any clear advantage for either of these colours here. Out come the calipers from Aldi Ismez once again. It's a great close-up. So that's the benchmark. What's it on the other side? Let's listen in. So it's still the red clock ticking. Behavior of that may have slightly surprised Nurul, because it did nudge, but then the energy transferred upward. But the good news is that what she did, even with that slight movement, is she completely cleared the path now for Aloysius, who always comes up with the play. That is just what the doctor ordered for Team Singapore. So advantage red ball, back with the ties now. Now we start looking at the clock. So they've used 2, they've got plenty of time, no great rush for either of these teams right now. And that is the angle that La Damini is looking at. She too is going for a bit of pace. She's tended to favor the bombastic play, if you will, looking to get a lot of activity to change the dynamic. And here she comes with a long stick push. Oh, and look at the action on that. She's taken 1 ball, 2 balls completely out of play. Have a look at the replay and have a look at everything that happened here. So the blue ball's crossed the line and gone. Jack is substantially freed up. And what's interesting now is the angle it presents for Aloysius, because this is now a wide open frame once again. It's not immediately obvious that there is an angle for him. You can see there, Nurul is also blocked. He might just be able to slide a ball down to the right-hand side of the jack here, if he goes for positioning. Instead, he could go a little bit pacier. But it looks as if he might just have a play here to the right, as he sees it, of the jack. Here it is. This is huge in the context of the match right now, because it's almost a reset with that power play from La Damini a moment ago. It's rolling. And it's superb. That was the angle, that was the play, and that round of applause tells you that the Singaporeans are edging closer now to gold. Because it's going to call for something disruptive now, presumably from Witun, who's got a straight line at this one. What's also interesting is the way that the jack is finding its way closer to the sideline as well. So this really is now just ratcheting up in terms of the tension inside the Chachai Hall here, as these are the big moments to determine not just what happens in this match, but also in this event. Where do these balls end up? Because this is going to come in a pace. Well, it ends up with Singapore still in the advantageous position of having a red ball closer to the jack. Another Thai ball flies out of the competition area. And they're going to become increasingly desperate, you feel, the Thais now, in terms of what they try to do to disrupt. Is there an angle now for Ladamani to come in from the side? 2:14 on the clock, 2 balls still in hand for both pairs. Yep. Is there an angle around that red ball at the top of the cluster there? It doesn't immediately look that way. Singapore pair happy to just sit back now because all the pressure, all the stress is on the Thais. And with only 2 balls remaining, this is a huge decision to be made here. Apart from looking to cause some kind of a ricochet, there's not an immediately obvious play here for Ladamani, unless she's got an angle that we couldn't see. Here it comes. She couldn't get close enough. And now they're under all kinds of pressure. Because Witten obviously has a clear look at this one. But she was hoping to get a ball into play, and maybe now it'll be a question of trying to just get that Singapore ball cleared away. seconds, and they have to conjure something up in a hurry, the Thais here. Are they going to go for the all or nothing play? It looks now as if it might be an attempt to just cannon 1 ball on. Here it comes. This is the play, settling the match. Is that closer? It doesn't look as if it is. It does not look as if it is. And it looks now as if the Singaporeans might just have this. Yes, they do. That's the call. It's red closest. And that, with a ball unnecessary, not needed anymore, means that the Singaporeans have done it yet again. That is the celebration, and that is absolutely magnificent from the Singaporeans. It's been tight throughout. 1 red is the call, and that is a 3-1 victory for Nurul Azhika and Aloysius Gan, who have been absolutely fantastically calm and composed throughout this tight match. Look at the celebration. Nur Aziza celebrates with Aloysius. Oh, that is wonderful to see. Look at the 2 of them. They have turned into a wonderful pair. And as you could see, everyone from Mr. Ho Chen Kui to Dr. Tioko Sok Myang cheering on in the background. Just wonderful to see the celebrations from the Singapore delegation. The Thais played well, make no mistake about that. They were in this right up until those final 2 balls, but they were always, you felt, chasing this one. And as a result of that, in a tight match that only ever saw a 1-0 victory in any of the ends, it's the Singaporeans who've come away with a 3-1 win to take out the gold in the BC3 mixed pairs.
Singapore, blue team, Ladamani Klahan, Lambrator, Chantapapha Phula, and Witun Chantakha.
So that was the way this one set up, and those were the fans watching a very tight Boccia encounter here. Tactical, extremely well played by the Singaporeans, and whenever they needed to, the 2 of them, Nurul and Aloysius, stepped up with the big plays. Singapore took the lead in the first end in a very tight affair, winning it by 1. The Thais came back into it, leveling things up with a 1-0 win in the second end for a 1-1 overall score. And it was a feature of the play that we saw the Thais having to resort to the long ramp more and more as Singapore smothered them throughout this match, always thinking 1 or 2 balls ahead, always having the tactical advantage. So from 1-1, it turned into an incredibly tight and decisive, in the end, third end, which saw a very open play with a lot of disruption to the jack, and then eventually a huge play right at the end of it all, meaning that it was Nurul once again engineering a situation for a slender Singapore win. Initially, it didn't go her way, but it eventually led to a 2-1 scoreline, which coming into the third was to become a 3-1 winning margin. And there we are. At the end of all that, the celebrations coming in here for Team Singapore. A fantastic, highly competitive third group stage round-robin match for them has ended with a 3-1 victory. So that's where we're going to wrap up more gold medal success, but make sure you catch the presentation. Around 3 p.m. we will have the presentation to this Singapore pair. A fantastic effort, and we'll now take our leave for the time being from Chachai Hall.